story, but I write down some things to help me go through the points that I hope to raise. Am I communicating clearly, Manuel?
Yes, we can hear you very
okay. All right, thank you. So I will share my slides and then walk through the slides as much as time would allow. Sorry, I'm in the office, so if you're hearing sounds, maybe my co-workers are talking outside my office, bear with me. Screen. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so like I said, I'm just giving some tips on how to make it through college or through any academic work with good grades. So when I was introduced as one who made first class, and that's true. But I didn't get into college with the plan of making a first class, to be sincere, because I was a first generation college student from my family. So I didn't even know what first class was about. I didn't know what going to college. I didn't know anything about college before I went to college because nobody in my family had been to college before I did. So there was nobody telling me anything. So I got to know what first class meant while in college. And in fact, maybe like second or third year. So when I got into college, one thing that helped me is, which is the first point I'm making here, is you discovering who you are. It's very important because as a human being, we are all blessed with different skill sets, different strengths and limitations. And if you're not aware of what your strengths and limitations are, you've not even started on the path of success at all. Because when you know what your strengths are and what your limitations, those things that need to be developed, those things that need extra effort, and those places where you do not need to exert more efforts. So discovering yourself is definitely the very first thing. What are the things I know how to do well? What are the things that I struggle with? What are the things that work well for me as a person? I'm not saying you should discover your friends. This is discovering yourself. Know what your strengths are. What are your limitations? What are your weaknesses? And then you can address them. If you're not able to diagnose the challenges that you have as a person, then you can't even begin to fix it as a person. So discovering yourself is definitely the first step. And part of discovering yourself is also discovering your identity. I'll be lying to you if I tell you that, my success is all about me and myself and my hard work and my grit. No, I must say God's factor was supreme in all of it all. So discovering my identity as a Christian was very, very instrumental in my success as a student and even till now as an employee here. So definitely, I don't know who is a Christian and who is not, but I implore you, if you haven't identified yourself spiritually as a Christian, it's the first step, because whatever I'm sharing here didn't work in itself. It had to work on the foundation of being a Christian. Then the second part of it is understanding what your education is all about. When I got into school, I used to tell my friends then, as an undergraduate, I don't know who taught me that. I don't know where I learned that from. I used to tell my friends that education is not a means to an end. I used to tell them my education is an end in itself. So I told them I'm not getting education to get a good job. I'm getting education to be a better person, to be a refined person, to be a critical thinker. Because if you just pursue grades, the mistake there is you just tend to get the good grades, but then you don't actually learn. You can get good grades without learning anything. You can cram and, just pour it out there, and then you have not really been educated. So when you say someone is educated, the person is able to contribute to discussions intelligently. The person's behavior and character is refined. So, and that is not for a job. As a person, the way you think, the way you process information changes through education. So I came into school believing that education is an end. If I'm educated, that is good. Okay, other benefits of education is I get a good job, good grades. all those things are fringe benefits, but being a better person all around is the purpose of education. So that's for me. So I believe it will help if you also think in that direction, because getting good grades is good. But if that's all you're pursuing in college, it will not take you far, because good grades is just one part of success. It's not the full definition of success. And then I say, choose your battles, because when you're in college, it's a stage of life that so many things are facing you at the same time. So for many of us, that's the first time you're living alone. So dealing with having to stay by yourself for the first time. And many other issues come, making friends and dealing with time, dealing with social life, dealing with academic life, and at the same time, if you're a Christian or you belong to one religious body or the other, you're dealing with religion and all of that. So for me, you have to decide what's priority in your life at that point. If in college you are not able to prioritize things in life, then you have a problem. At college level, the age of college, at your college age, you should be able to say, these are the things that are important. This is why I'm here. And these are the things I'm going to focus on. One practical example of myself choosing my battle is this low cut I have on my hair. I cut my hair in college because I felt, I'm not advising you to cut your hair, but I felt it was too much trouble for me maintaining my hair. So I went and I cut it. And you know, it wasn't an easy decision to make, but I decided that I had to do this because I needed more time for my academic work. It was disturbing me. My hair was a problem maintaining for me, so I cut it. So that's just one trivial example, but I'm just saying choose the things you have, because there are so many things that will seek your attention in college. So you have to really prioritize and choose your battles. Then we'll talk about getting good grades. The first problem we have with getting grades is our time management. Time management is a huge factor with being a successful student. So here I just listed some tips that are important to consider when you are trying to improve your time management skill. The very first one you see is maintaining a healthy sleep routine. So no matter how well you structure your time, if you don't get sufficient sleep, your brain will not work with your schedule. You may be working, but you're not productive. So if you allocate 2 hours to studying and your brain is not being functional, you know, you are able to study for 2 hours, but then you didn't take in enough, you didn't take in quality information because your brain is not well rested. So sleep routine, I put it as number one, definitely is number one. You have to be healthy to even make use of your time well. You can allocate 2 hours, 10 hours to studying. If your brain is not well rested, those 10 hours, I can achieve the same thing in 2 hours with a well-rested brain. So please get a good sleep routine. Second one is set goals. You don't just say, I'm going to go and study. And then maybe on your way to the place you're going to study, you don't even know where you're going to study. Or some people come into college, they don't know their major, they don't know what they are studying, or they don't know, you know, they don't have a goal. They just go to class and go home and go to class and go home. There's no goal, there's no plan. So it's definitely important to set goals every day, set goals every week, set goals every semester. So you have short-term goals and long-term goals. Because if you do not have a destination in mind, anywhere can be a destination for you. So you have to say, this is where I'm going, so that if there's a distraction, you know that this is a distraction, as opposed to if you don't have a direction you're going, when there's a distraction, you can take that path and say, okay, here's where I'm going, because you didn't plan ahead. So that takes me to the other point is make notes of the things that needs to be done. So if you have, time is a very limited resource. So you need to make notes of the things that need to be done within the time you have. So I need to do this, I need to do that, you write them out, and then you can cross them out as you're doing them. That really helps. And it's very encouraging when you start crossing out things. It's so helpful to see, I've achieved this, and you cross it out. So make notes and plan ahead of time. Don't do things just as they come. Make sure you plan ahead of time that, okay, I'm going to do this day, I'm going to do this that day. and don't just wait on them to just, be reactive to activities, be proactive about them, plan ahead about them. And then the other thing I did, and I still do, I do even more now, is to allocate time to your activities. If you look at my Google Calendar right now, from 6 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. it's booked all over. They're all colors all over. I colored everything. And that's because I feel like time is important. Now, the colors there, one of them is TV time. The colors there, one of them is cooking time. But what I do is to make sure I fill in my calendar with something that I'm doing at a particular time in that day. So even if I'm chatting away, I know what exactly I'm sacrificing to be chatting away. So if I say on Monday by 6 to 7 p.m., I'm supposed to be doing this, but during that time, I'm doing this other thing. I know what exactly I lost. I'm able to tell what I missed because I have already scheduled my week, the entire week. So you have some variable things that happen during the week, and then you have some fixed things that happen every week. So you make room for those things and you block them out in your calendar so you can allocate time to the things that are important, and then you can leave slots for the variable things that come and go. So I do that and it helps me a lot. And of course, develop a routine, stay organized. It takes discipline. We don't need to include that as a point. We all know that it takes discipline to be able to be successful, So you have to be disciplined and develop a routine. Many times you will not want to do what you are supposed to do. Again, if you have not written down what you're supposed to do, then you don't know what you're supposed to do. So if you have written them down, you have allocated activity for that hour. You may not feel like doing it. It takes discipline to make sure you do it. And then remember to have fun, engage in extracurricular activities, make time for it. So we're talking about time management. In your time, in your schedule, I told you my own schedule has TV time allocated to different spots on my daily activity. I have family time, I have cooking, grocery allocated there. So make sure you give time. Don't just fill everything with academic work. It needs to be balanced in life. So you create time for yourself to have fun things that are not academic so that your brain can relax. Okay, I don't think I'm even using up my time and I'm not done. Okay, so, and then getting grades, and the second part of it, the second part of getting how to get good grades is doing extra studies. Doing extra studies, again, I can't overemphasize this: eating well and sleeping well. Eating well and sleeping well. For you to study productively, your brain should be ready, well rested, relaxed. Trust me, it works. If your brain is well rested, when you give 1 hour to studying, you get better results. And then make sure you create space for where you're studying. Maybe if you're the type that likes studying in a quiet place, then find a quiet place that you study. It doesn't have to be the same place all the time, but make sure you create a space for studying and a place that would, minimize distractions and you're able to be productive. Not you're studying and then you have your music on, you have so many activities going on that can distract you at the same time. You have to, block out the time and block out other activities so that you study productively. And again, when you're studying, set a goal. This is what I want to achieve in this 1 hour. You don't just say, I want to go and read my books. And then you just go and read any flip. Okay, let me read math today. No, you should plan that this is what I'm going to read on that day. And then say, this is what I want. I want to be able to study, finish this topic within this 1 hour. So set a goal. And then the 24-hour rule is, after you've gone to class and you received a lecture, it's always helpful within the next 24 hours to review that lecture. It's very helpful for you to connect with what the teacher said and the lecture notes you wrote down. Because when the teacher is talking, you're busy writing, you may not really make sense of what you're writing at that time. But if you go home within the first 24 hours after that class, it's always helpful to review the notes because you can still remember what the teacher said and to connect with the notes and then you can actually make corrections or even like improve on the notes, add your own thoughts, because as you're reading those things, you're able to connect with what the teacher said and what you wrote down. You're able to even develop the thought better, and then you write. And then also I will advise engage multiple sources. The teacher has his own textbook that he recommended. He has his lecture note, but please don't restrict yourself to those things. For myself, as an example, I remember learning what we call Bayes' theorem in statistics in undergrad. I struggled so much to understand Bayes' theorem. If you've ever taken a probability class, you must take that topic, Bayes' theorem. I struggled so much until I finally bought a textbook. I bought 2 different textbooks and I read those 2 different textbooks, Bayes' theorem. After reading those textbooks, that was it. It clicked and that was it. So reading from different sources, the same topic, it may be just a sentence that will be different in one textbook than the other, and that will make the difference for you in understanding that topic. So don't restrict yourself to just one source. Try to read from different sources so I get different flavors of the same topic, and that will enrich your own understanding. Of course, when you are studying, make good notes, write down. They say the faintest ink is sharper than the sharpest brain. So make sure you take good notes as you are studying so that you don't have to repeat the same process of studying. When you've made your own notes, it's your notes, right? The notes you make when you're studying is your notes. So there's a familiarity you have with the notes that you made by yourself when you're studying. And then divide what you're studying into chunks so that you can take breaks in between. It's not good to sit for hours without breaks. So if you're going to study for 3 hours at a stretch, probably after every 30, 45 minutes, you take a 5-minute, 10-minute break and relax your muscles, relax yourself, and then come back so that you can be productive and your body doesn't get so much stress. And then finally, reward yourself. If you've done good that day, play hard. Do something nice for yourself, give yourself a treat. Maybe it's a meal, or you watch a movie or play a game, something to, reward yourself, say, yes, you've done a good job today. So, yeah. And then the third part of getting good grades. For me, while I was undergrad, I used to come in a week or 2 before the semester starts, or sometimes before the previous semester ends. I borrow notes from the seniors, and I come in a week or 2, and then I copy their notes into another note. I just copy the lecture notes into another note. Not because it's a lecture, I just copy it because I know I'm going to take this class. So I just copy their lecture notes. I may not understand it, but I just copy it. In copying it, I'm trying to read it. I'm trying to understand it because I've not been taught these topics. They are not easy for me to understand, but I try as much as I can because you're writing notes. You have to make sure it's flowing as you're writing. So, but then after writing the notes and I come into the classes, those things now become like a revision for me because now I've gone through those notes. I may not understand it very well, but whatever the teacher is teaching now becomes like a revision of those notes for me. So it's easier for me to grab what the teacher is saying because this is not my first time down the lane. So I have gone through this before. So writing those notes helped me a lot. I remember one time I came in late for school because I had a family issue, so I had to come in, resume late. I came into the class, they were teaching ANOVA, remember? And then they asked a question on ANOVA. That was my first class for the ANOVA, and I answered the question. And that was my first class. But that was because what the teacher was teaching connects with the note I've already copied from my seniors. So writing notes and preparing ahead for each semester and preparing ahead for each class helps you to get the best from your classes. Okay, I'm running out of time. So I'm just going to leave the rest and allow us to make it a discussion point. Or what do you think, Emmanuel?
Please, can you further a bit? Maybe if you could rush up what you have in about. Okay,
just stop me whenever. Just stop me. The other point is be neutral. Be neutral to your professors. In college, people tell you, oh, this professor is mean, that professor is wicked, this professor is that. Be neutral to your professors. I remember I had a physics professor, they said, oh, this guy is wicked, he's mean, he doesn't give an A. Good. I tell them there's a reason he doesn't give an A, there's a reason he's mean. Probably he had dealt with students that are not respectful. So I'm not going to, because of that, assume my professor is mean. So go with a neutral mind and give it your best. And then learn the professor yourself. Learn what he wants, how he wants to present things, what are the things. I know of a professor, he hates coming late. So for me, I'm a tardy person, I confess. I don't like coming in 10 minutes before class. But for that professor, I come in 10 minutes before class, just for him. So learn your professor and try not to create some preconceived notion of who this person is, especially when that thing is negative, because it affects your ability to pay attention to them. Attend your classes mindfully. Don't just be in class to mark attendance, be in class to learn in class. Be there for yourself. Don't be there because it's required or because they take attendance. Be there because you want to learn. And be participatory in the class discussion. Don't feel too big or too small, too dumb to participate in discussions, because if you make a mistake, it gets corrected there, and then you don't make that mistake in your exams. Of course, take notes and don't be a hoarder. Teach others, share with others. I did that a lot in school. I taught a lot of students, not because I knew better than them, but that's my way of learning. I'm not the type that can sit for hours and study. I'm a very social person, so I prefer to teach than to study. So what we were doing then was we'll take a class in the afternoon, and then at night, I teach that same topic in the night class. Then I get to some points where I struggle. I'm like, I didn't understand this part. And then one person or two there will just raise something that will help you understand this. And ta-da, the light bulb turns on and you understand it. So actually teaching others helped me a lot. And why this is so important is that when you read something, you really do not know how much you understand it until you're able to articulate it. Imagine that you're writing the exam and you're trying to, it's just like taking a practice exam. You're trying to articulate the definition of something you've read or an explanation of something you read. That's what will be asked in exam. Explain this. Now, I've already done it. I've tried to explain it to somebody else. So the fact that I've articulated it, I have voiced it out, I've explained it to somebody else, makes it easier for me to reproduce the same thing when I sit in an exam. But then if I just read it and I didn't communicate it in any way, the only time I get to communicate it is when I sit in the exam. It's harder, it's more difficult to reproduce. So that's why teaching is very good, because you're able to actually give life to what you know before you are tested on it. And then please, I need to add this. Swallow your pride and ask dumb questions. Let them laugh in class, but ask it. Because once you get that clear, it's no longer a problem for you. You move on to the next thing and you're able to answer questions intelligently. Then avoid cheating. Cheating in exam or test, you're defrauding yourself if you do that. Because when you cheat in an exam, that thing you are cheating on, it's not your knowledge, and it will be more difficult for you to get that later in life. So please, apart from the fact that it's academic dishonesty, the criminal offense, but really, cheating is not good for you. You are robbing yourself of the opportunity of being a better person. When you cheat in an exam, you will never know that thing. Even if you will, it will be more difficult for you to know that thing because you have relied on somebody else. So please avoid cheating. So this is the last part of it, beyond the grades. Beyond the grades, okay, now you have good grades. Great. Keep records of your grades. Keep records. I said grades are fringe benefits to education. The most important part of education is that you're a refined person. But those grades are also important that you keep records of them. Recently, someone contacted me and said, oh, I'm applying to this college abroad, and they need me to produce my transcript, but the school is on strike. I don't have a copy of my transcript. So I was like, okay, write down the courses you took and the grades you got on them. Tell them this is an official documentation of your grades. It was like, he doesn't remember them all. Wow. If he had this record of scores, course code, course title, grade you got, and your GPA for that semester, you can just make an Excel sheet, print it out, and then send it to the school. So I had something like this as an undergrad. I was keeping all my grades. So that even now I can tell you some of the grades I got in some classes because I was keeping record of everything and calculating my GPA at the end of every semester. So it's good to see and track yourself. That can also help you when you see your transcript and there's an error, you know, because you know what you wrote down. Establish good friends, good network of friends, people who are serious. Good friends helped me to stay on course and to stay accountable. People who are serious will help you to stay serious. You know, how many hours did you study? Like especially for my graduate school, when I started doing dissertation, nobody's monitoring you. So you can decide in a whole month that you'll not do anything academic and nobody will question you. But then I had friends who I have to report how many hours I worked on my dissertation every week. So because I had to report to these people, I had to put in 20 hours every week so I can report. So have people that can hold you accountable for your academic work, your grades, people you have to report out to, not just your parents, but those friends that can hold you accountable for being in class, studying this many hours or achieving those goals that you have set for yourself. And also in staying accountable, you can use apps. Like when we did undergrad, those apps were not so, smartphones were not even available then. But now we have smartphones and have all kinds of apps that you can use to track yourself. So find out those apps and take advantage of technology to keep yourself accountable. Some of them will give you some virtual rewards. Do those things and use them. You know, smartphones are not for just social activities. You can use them to improve your academic performance as well. Then when you fail, if you fail, learn from your failures. Failures are not, it's not a mark of, it's not like the end of it. If you're able to learn from your failures, that helps you to make good success in the future. Failure just says you didn't do enough, so do better. So learn from your failures so that you can turn them to stepping stones. They are not for you. I have failed before. I made a first class year, but I failed my first jam. So, well, you don't stop there. You learn from that mistake. What did I do wrong? And then fix it and then move forward. And then your successes, celebrate them, but contain them. Because successes, once you start dwelling on your success and you don't contain it, it keeps you from working hard on yourself. Success is good. Celebrate them, but don't dwell so much on them because they say the biggest room in the world is the room for improvement. So whatever success level you've achieved, there's always room for you to do better. So don't dwell so much on it. Keep moving forward and create room for more successes. And then don't get tired of learning. I don't think that's an advice that you need if you're on this platform because this is not a required course, but you're here. So wherever you can grab knowledge, grab it. It's not as if you don't know how to study or how to make good grades. You already have some knowledge already, but here you are learning more because you know you can pick up one or two things. So never get tired of learning, even when you think you know it all. If there's an opportunity for you to improve yourself, take advantage of the opportunity and keep learning. As long as you're alive, you need to keep learning because you don't know which piece of knowledge will be the gem you are going to use to, you know, make it in the future. So I'm just going to pause here and I've used almost twice my time.
Thank you very much, Dr. Marquez, for that insightful discussion. I see a question coming in the chat, but please, I want us to jump into the second presentation, and you can keep your question or questions coming into the chat, so that at the end of the second presentation, we will take all the questions together.